Do not adjust your tracking. You are now listening to the VHS Saturday podcast.
Hello, and we are back. Welcome to VHS Saturday, the show where we discuss strange and unusual, odd and obscure VHS tapes that we obtain through thrift, gift, and grift. My name is Henry.
And I'm Allison.
And this week, we're doing a little something different.
This month, we're doing something a little different.
That is right. We are launching Dawgust.
Dawgust!
Jesus, fuck. So Dawgust. Well, before we get into Dawgust, let's go. Where have we been?
Where have we been?
What the fuck happened?
Okay, it's been a wild ride, people.
We've been gone for a month. We took a month break that was not exactly scheduled. It started out with the fact that, there was a huge heat spike in, Seattle.
It was the hottest it's literally ever been here.
Yeah, so
ever.
It has never reached these temperatures ever in recorded history. So that sucked. We were melting in our apartment with a million fans on, and
it was literally 109 degrees with no air conditioning. It was
higher than that.
113, I think.
Yeah, it went to the teens.
It was
so
it was not okay.
I have not had temperatures like that since I lived in Texas.
Yeah.
So we initially took a week off to not have to deal with
we had
that.
So many fans on.
Yeah.
That we couldn't even record anything, and the thought of turning a fan off even for an hour was just wasn't going to happen.
So if you don't live in Washington, realize that 20% of the population has AC because we don't get temperatures high enough to even warrant it. Yeah. Our summers are in the 70s and 80s.
Yeah, it's very moderate climate here. Mm-hmm. So it was not fun for anybody. No. We all had a hard time.
Then the next week, we recorded an episode. We recorded an episode on, what the fuck was it?
A little movie called Frogs.
Oh, yes. So we had mentioned Frogs.
Not to be confused with Frogs, the sequel to our worst performing episode, Frog.
Right. This is another movie called Frogs that we had mentioned in that episode, and I obtained a copy of it. I was like, oh, fuck it, let's watch it. It had to do with the 4th of July. Plot-wise, to release it on the 4th of July.
Yeah.
And
we recorded through the wrong microphone.
Yeah, we recorded through my laptop's built-in microphone instead of our nice microphone, so it sounded like absolute shit, and I didn't want to record that.
So we had to scrap it. So that's, for any of you lost media nerds out there, that's officially lost media now.
Yeah, and it didn't say, I deleted the file too, so it's
gone
just
to the sands of time.
But the next thing that happened was my new laptop just started being stupid. So then I had to do an exchange on that laptop. I had to order a new one, which took a few days to come in. And in the meantime, I had either a desktop that I have to reinstall Windows on or a Chromebook. We could have done what we did for the pilot episode and recorded on a phone, and it would have been okay,
I guess.
But
we had a lot going on, and it just kind of felt like things weren't right. It wasn't right for us to record. But you know what? We took our time off. We're rejuvenated, and now we're ready to tackle something bigger than we've ever done before.
Yeah, it doesn't help that also I'm in summer classes, so I have homework due almost every week, every day, almost every single day.
So busy.
So
and it's just been hard to find the time, and but now that that's out of the way, let's talk about the theme of the month, which we are calling Dawgust.
Dawgust is going to be a tournament. A tournament of the finest dog films, because dog films were apparently a trend within the era of VHS.
Oh, yeah. We got the idea because we were looking at our collection and we noticed we have so many fucking dog movies.
And we planned this out months ago.
Yeah.
For the record, this is we took a week a break. We took a month off, and we figured this is the perfect time to come back. It's right when said we were going to do Dawgust. So we got a lot worked into this. We got this prepared. This is going to be a fun theme. I'm not a fan of animal movies. Like, we discussed this before. You liked animal movies as a kid. Mm-hmm. I just didn't give a shit about animal movies. And if they talked, I gave less of a fucking shit.
Yeah. So throughout this month, we're just going to be talking about the dog phenomenon of the VHS era. And we're going to do it in kind of like a bracket tournament style. Mm-hmm. So this week, we're discussing a specific dog movie subgenre that we like to call the cop dog subgenre.
Now, within the cop dog subgenre, we have a movie that is out of the running because it is considered the quintessential cop dog movie. So it is not, it's seated basically at the very end, right? Like, that's what we're really going to be comparing it against. And we have another genre on the next week, and we have a third genre as well.
And then the final week of the month, we will...
the next week after that, it's a semifinal where we start looking at... the losers bracket, essentially, what movies did not perform the best out of the first 3 weeks, pit those all against each other, and then after we have that loser bracket finalized, they go against the winners bracket of who won weeks 1, 2, and 3.
So basically what we're going to do, like what the whole purpose of Dawgust, what we're setting out to do is we want to know, like, what is the best dog movie on VHS? What is the worst?
Or at least what's the best dog movie that we got on VHS?
Yeah. Look, folks, there's a lot. So you're used to listening to us talk about one movie, and we might compare it to something similar or whatever. But like for Dawgust, we're going to watch multiple movies, all in a specific subgenre of the dog movie genre,
which is a subgenre in of itself. Like, because that's I don't know, is animal movie a genre?
Sure, yeah.
And then fucking cop dog is like, it's a buddy cop genre. How many levels of subgenre is this? All right, because we got we've got buddy cop, animal movie, cop dog. Right, that's like 3 levels of subgenre, because those are subgenres. Because is it a buddy cop comedy? Is it an action movie? We don't know.
We definitely with the movies that we're reviewing this week, they're kind of all over the place in terms of what style they are. They all kind of generally have this action/comedy. Some more in one direction than others. So it's going to be exciting to dive in because, of course, we're going to be discussing sports dogs movies next week. And that is a huge category. There is a lot.
We are leaving out a lot of Air Bud. We are leaving out a lot of the Air Bud movies because that's its own mess. We will go over parts of that, though.
Yeah. But I would say that cop dog is probably the second largest out of the categories we're going to be discussing.
I would say, excuse me, until we had Air Bud, cop dog was the dog genre.
Yeah. And we didn't really see
or Boy and His Dog, which was which is what we are doing for week 3.
Boy and His Dog is a very classic kind of trope, shit like Lassie, and this goes back to black and white, But Cop Dog was much more of an 80s theme, and then Sports Dog was much more of a 90s theme.
Because Cop Dog was a spin-off of the Buddy Cop.
Yeah. And then, sports dog, because it's you had sports movies, and then someone was like, hey, let's get a dog to do that.
it was, I mean, we know how that whole thing started and like what that turned into, you know?
Yeah,
and,
like sports dog movies have a really interesting history.
Yeah.
And I can't wait to get into it. But this week, when we're talking about the history of like the cop dog movie, there's a very there's a very followable timeline of events.
Yes.
And it's pretty interesting. So right off the bat, I want to talk about the whole Turner and Hooch versus Canine.
And Turner and Hooch is out of the running on this. That is considered like the cop dog movie. So it's not...
I think when people think of a cop dog movie,
they think Turner and Hooch.
Yeah.
So we will be talking about it. The movies we will be talking about today, we are going to be comparing to Turner and Hooch. Turner and Hooch is seated as like the champion right now of the cop dog genre.
Mostly because just like over time, like we have that retrospect and we can see that like Turner and Hooch is the one for whatever reason people just identify with the most.
It was better received. You know, Tom Hanks is Tom Hanks. It was right after he did Big. And he still references it, you know, multiple times. Which is why I feel like it's still part of like the pop culture zeitgeist, you know, sort of like Old Yeller is, where it's that's like the cop dog, because we have Tom Hanks, who's had an amazing career since then.
Yeah.
And he still acknowledges this cop dog movie he made in 1989.
Yeah. And it's very interesting, though, because we see Turner and Hooch as the cop dog movie, but lest we forget that simply just a couple months before Turner and Hooch came out in theaters, we had a film called Canine, starring Jim Belushi.
Right.
And so in a way, like Turner and Hooch came second, but people see it as like the original.
Right.
So
and it's not like Canine didn't have a big name attached to it.
No. Canine, actually, it's funny because Canine got like a bunch of sequels and spin-offs, and even bringing up Lost Media again, there is some like really hard to find Canine pilots. But Turner and Hooch did get some spin-offs, but not really as much at the time.
Not nearly as many spin-offs.
Yeah. Canine was just kind of big at the time and then disappeared, whereas Turner and Hooch has come back. The show actually, a TV show about Turner and Hooch just got rebooted, I want to say, like last month, like June or July this year.
Right. So that's why we're not reviewing all the Turner and Hooch films. They're part of the general zeitgeist. Now, I gotta say, we did rewatch it.
Mm-hmm. And I'm glad that we did, because, like, I'm gonna be honest, Henry, Turner and Hooch is pretty forgettable.
Yeah, no, I agree. Like, it's the quintessential dog cop film, but when we watched it, we were both bored. I was annoyed by the dog.
Yeah.
I hated that dog.
Yeah. Absolutely. So, like, I'm just gonna come out and say it. I don't know if this is a fucking spoiler or what, but, like, my favorite out of all the ones that we watched, hands down, was Canine, the original.
Oh, I thought
Canine.
you were gonna say, I hate to say it, I don't know if it's a spoiler or not, but I loved it when Hooch got shot.
No, of course I don't like when the dog... Like, look, folks, here's the thing. We're talking about cop dogs here. And, like, the way James Belushi articulated it himself is that the cop dog is meant to take a bullet.
That's what it's for.
And so, yeah, you're going to see some dogs get shot. If you're exploring this genre for whatever reason along with us, you absolute mad person.
It's a coin toss if they live or not. Like, if you Google K9, the movie,
the
and
dog's
like,
going to get
fucking,
shot.
Like, the question is, like, does the dog die in K9?
Yeah. So, you know, fucking trigger warning? I don't know.
Yeah.
Dogs getting shot? Does that upset you? Don't listen.
It's not animal cruelty, but it's, you know.
It's just, it's part of the job, you know? They're doing it to serve and protect.
They do what they were signed up for.
Yep.
No, they don't. We talked about that earlier. I was like, they don't even know that the risk that's involved.
They just know, like, they get treat for, like, helping their...
You get T-bone.
Yeah.
So, the other movies...
Get that T-bone in the sky.
God damn it.
All dogs go to heaven. Me and Henry have a very interesting history with All Dogs Go to Heaven. I feel like I couldn't get through Dawgust without bringing it up. We don't need to elaborate. You all can use your imagination, but we love that movie. We love that franchise. Anyways.
So, the other movies we're reviewing today, we're not even really reviewing, we're going to be glossing over a lot of shit, is Top Dog starring...
Chuck Norris.
Yeah. And both Canine and Canine PI.
Yeah. So
we are skipping Canine 1-1, and then we are not going to be watching K9 1000. Yeah. I almost call it K9 2000, like Blues Brothers 2000, like fucking. He's a Belushi anyway, so Blues Brothers 2000, fucking.
Yeah, actually,
K9 2000.
They wanted to get Jim Belushi to be in Blues Brothers 2000, but he saw the script and was like, this fucking sucks. I'm not going to shit on my brother's grave by participating in this project.
You love Blues Brothers.
Yeah. It's one of my favorite movies of all time.
I gave you an autographed copy from Dan Aykroyd.
Mm-hmm.
Just be, hey,
Henry just has this hoard of, like, stuff he made Dan Aykroyd autograph for him. I just envision him, like, coming up to him like, oh, hi, Mr. Aykroyd, would you sign my box of alien hominid toys? And he's like, oh, yeah, sure, bud. And he's, like, signing your stuff. And you're like, and I made this proton pack. Would you sign that, too? And he's like, yeah, okay.
He signs everyone's proton packs.
Yeah, but, like, I just imagine this whole line behind you, and you're just like Mary Poppins' purse, just like pulling out stuff like, and this is my my bottle of Crystal Head vodka.
Okay, he had to sign those, right? That was part of the deal. You buy the Crystal Head vodka, he'll sign it, and he can sign other stuff that you want to.
Okay.
So like things that got autographed by Dan Aykroyd, I got a copy of Ghostbusters 2 for the NES by Activision. I have a copy of New Ghostbusters 2 for the Nintendo Famicom by HAL. I have the Ghostbusters 1 and 2 2-pack from like 2008. And then I also got a bottle of Crystal Head vodka. I had another bottle of Crystal Head vodka. And then I also had Blues Brothers. Mm-hmm. So.
I believe DVD or
yeah, it was DVD.
Yeah. I was gonna say that like the autographed Crystal Head vodka was like, I saw it the first day that I met you.
Yeah.
And that was like a way that I knew that I was like, oh yeah, like I'm in love with this dude. Because I step into your apartment and I'm looking around and you know, you have a lot of cool shit and I'm like marveling at all your cool shit. But then I go to the fridge, and what do I see on top of the fridge but a bottle of Crystal Head vodka? And I was like, you know, oh, is this a bottle of Dan Aykroyd's Crystal Head vodka? That's kind of like me, like, nerd checking you. I'm like, oh, does he just like to drink vodka? Or, like, does he know? And you take the bottle down off the fridge, and you're like, yeah, it's autographed by Dan Aykroyd. And I was like, wow, I was so impressed. I was like, you're perfect. That's how I knew you were perfect.
So, let's see. What?
I just love your love for all things accordion.
So, Turner and Hooch. It's about...
about dogs.
It's about a dog. It's about a dog. It's about Tom Hanks. He's a cop. And he's on a case.
Yeah.
And the owner of this dog gets murdered.
Right.
And
because he witnesses some like drug smugglers.
Right. And so then like while they're working on the case, the animal who's a witness, I don't know how this is even mattering, like, you know, these the animals got to get protected by, right? And so he takes it to the vet, and the vet starts berating him because like the dog's bleeding and starts calling him, an animal abuser. And he's like, I'm a cop. This dog got shot, and I just need you to save him. He witnessed a murder, his owner. And the lady's like, oh, my bad.
Yeah.
And then he's like, can you take care of him? Can you hold him here? She's like, well, I don't have room. He's like, and she's like kind of flirted with him. She's like, are you single? Yeah. Do you have a good house? Yeah, I got a big house. All this other shit. And it's like, oh, sounds like you're fucking perfect to take care of this dog. And then this dog just like runs and pisses and shits all over everything. He's just an obnoxious fucking animal.
He's a very bad dog.
Terrible fucking
Very
dog.
bad. Like, the first night he brings Hooch home, the dog fucking, like, breaks through, like, Kool-Aid Man style, through the fucking door and gets into all of his shit and is, like, breaking his records, fucking pulling shit out of his cabinets and his fridge, tearing up the couch, like, just every single bad thing a dog can possibly do in your house, like, Hooch does in a matter of, like, an hour.
Yeah.
He slobbers all over everything, like, rips up his shoes. I'm like, I don't care, like, what this dog has been through, okay? Like, I come home to that, we're done. This is over. So, I don't know. Like, from the get-go, that's not good because I'm like, I don't like this dog. I do not wish to see more of the shenanigans that this dog gets into. So, like, right off the bat, we're going into Turner and Hooch kind of like, well, okay, I don't really like the dog. And the whole comedy, the crux of the comedy of the film basically comes from Tom Hanks just being, like, the straight man. And he's like, oh, Hooch, what are you doing? You're messing up my house. And he just runs around in his underwear yelling at Hooch, like, the whole movie.
Yeah. And then the veterinarian and him fall in love at the end.
Mm-hmm.
And Hooch dies.
Yeah.
Hooch finally, like, helps out.
Yeah.
To Hooch's credit, he's not a cop dog. He's just
You're right. He's just a normal-ass dog.
He's a normal-ass dog. So, but that doesn't change anything.
Yeah. Lots of very gratuitous scenes of Tom Hanks in his underwear in that movie. I don't know why.
Yeah. I don't know why that is either.
That was like maybe one scene, like, okay, but then it happens again and they're playing out in the yard. Is it because
he's a bachelor?
What do you mean?
He's a relaxed bachelor. He's like, yeah, I just live alone. I could just have my dick out.
I don't know, man.
Like,
I guess.
That makes sense to me, but...
It felt like maybe Tom Hanks was getting exploited in his early years, man. I don't know. But, anyways, yeah, I didn't really care for it. I think the movie is really forgettable. I don't like Hooch, and then, like, all of a sudden, it's like you don't like the dog for 45 minutes, and then the dog gets shot, and then you're like, wow, that's, like, your human empathy kicks in, and you're like, wow, that's really sad. I don't like when dogs get shot.
Right.
And then you become a little invested. You're like, oh, it's going to happen. And then the dog dies, and so it's just kind of like, okay.
I legit felt bad when Jerry Lee, the dog in
K9
got shot.
Yeah, this is a Jerry Lee Stan podcast.
Yeah, we both all right.
Rest in peace, you absolute legend.
Let's talk about K9.
Let's talk about K9.
So K9 is about Jim Belushi. He's a cop. He's on a case, and he needs a dog to help find the drugs.
Yeah.
So he goes and he asks the cops for a dog, and they got one dog they can give him, and he's kind of I I can't. Okay, here's the thing about. I can't tell if Al Bundy, that's the other cop.
Yeah.
I can't tell if Al Bundy was just like not wanting to give Jim Belushi a good dog.
Yeah.
Like, was this really the only dog they had? Or was he like, this is action? Because he was like, this dog see more action than you and I combined.
Yeah. So the thing is like Jim Belushi, his character, Detective Dooley, I think his name is.
Yeah.
He's an asshole. He's just a fucking prick. Nobody likes him. And so I kind of got this, like, Invader Zim vibe when, like, the tallest give him Gurr. Like, they won't give him a real legit robot because they're like, hey, fuck this guy, you know? So I think it was kind of the same thing because there was a scene where he was like, what do you mean this is the only dog? You got plenty of dogs over here. Why are you giving me this one?
That is true. However, that's what I thought at first. But Jerry Lee's a good dog. Dude,
Jerry Lee is a fucking tank. So, Hooch is a Bull Mastiff.
Sure.
It's like a really big, slobbery, drooly, bulldog-looking kind of dog. Mm-hmm. But Jerry Lee is like a German Shepherd.
Right.
And I was curious why cop dogs are always German Shepherds. I'm like, what's up with that? And turns out that like they're kind of bred to do that at this point.
That's what I told you.
They've been doing work with cops for over 100 years. That apparently they're just like, they really like to work and they really like to make humans happy. So it's just kind of, and they're like athletic and fast, but they're also really strong. So they're just kind of like a perfect.
Yeah, that's like what I said. When you asked me, I was like, I don't know, probably has to do with like how their body's built. They're probably like strong and like just naturally have a good nose and shit.
Yeah. And they just really like pleasing people. They're just like, you know, like they're very pack oriented and they'll do anything to like protect the pack. Bless you. So they're just perfect for police work.
Yeah.
They're obedient, they're loyal, and they just like to help out.
And they're strong as fuck.
Yeah. So
they're big.
Yeah.
It's not always German Shepherds though. They showed like there's some labs.
Yeah, sure.
There's a few. But
German Shepherds are just kind of like choice.
Yeah, they're the go-to.
Yeah.
I worked with someone who was in the Air Force. Like we had.
Oh.
Yeah. So. But
Jerry Lee, so he was an actual police dog.
Yeah, that blew my mind. That was fucking crazy. His real name was Jerry Lee. He was a real police dog.
And this was his first like acting gig.
Yeah.
And after Canine, I don't remember if he was in K911 or not. I don't remember what year that came out, but after K9, I know that Jerry Lee went back to police work, and unfortunately, he was fatally shot during a job in 1991. So that was only 2 years after K9 came out. So
it's crazy.
I think as far as like acting dogs go,
he was amazing.
He was amazing. I have never seen such good.
He was able to emote like. Hooch was just like, Hooch. Like, if he's a person, that's him.
Like a dumb, blundering, stupid dog.
Like, the only reason you feel bad that they're getting shot is because it's a life.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what I meant when I'm like, oh, your human instincts kick in and you're like, no, not the dog.
It's like, so you gotta kill the dog?
But then, like, you really think about it and you're like, that dog was a pain in the ass. Like, he made the whole thing harder, you know?
Yeah. He did.
So it's like...
Those criminals would have got busted sooner if... Hooch veterinarian could have just taken care of fucking Hooch.
Yeah, dude. But Jerry Lee, he's integral.
Yeah.
He is like... Because
at first, he doesn't listen to Jim.
Yeah.
But, and then take him to a drug bust and can smell it. And he only finds like one joint. And they're like, what the fuck? Only one joint. Yeah. All this bullshit over one joint. And then like, but then like, he goes to a bar to interrogate, and he's like hyping up this dog. He knows the dog won't listen to him, but he's using the fact that this dog is at least following him as an intimidation tactic by saying, this dog can kick all your fucking asses. This dog could do this, this, this. And then they're like calling his bluff. And then I don't remember who throws the first punch. Like, but the dog starts kicking everyone's fucking ass.
Dude, okay.
All these, this like whole bar of criminals, they're like got knives out and shit. And this fucking dog is like chomping on me, grabs one of them by the fucking balls.
Yeah, so like what happened was like, we don't know up to this point like exactly how good Jerry Lee is. Mm-hmm. Personally, I was expecting another like Hooch situation where like he's just kind of useless. Mm-hmm. But the thing is that like Jerry Lee is strong as fuck. So, you know, they start messing with Jim and so Jerry Lee starts barking at him and they're like, shut up, dog. And he picks up a fucking ball off of the pool
right,
table.
a cue ball.
And throws it at the dog. And Jerry Lee just bites it.
He catches it first.
It in his mouth.
And then they're like, oh. And
bites it in half. And then spits it out at his feet.
And then growls. It's like, oh, fuck,
and they're like, whoa, this dog's a fucking tank. And then the dog, like, single-handedly
takes out an entire fucking bar of, like,
well, Jim Belushi just, like, stands there.
He's sitting there. He starts drinking. He starts drinking a drink.
So this is... I think K9 is so fucking underrated.
It really is.
I
like looking at review scores, like it got 22 on Rotten Tomatoes and like at the fucking at least 55% on fucking
the writing is hilarious.
Snappy. It's written like a real like buddy cop movie,
and it's got this kind of like flexible reality, and it's so funny because like basically the whole dynamic between Jerry Lee and Jim Belushi is that Jim Belushi is like
not a great cop.
He's just a dick. He's just a fucking like.
He's got the weirdest relationship with his girlfriend.
Yeah, we'll get into that. But like the thing is,
we got a lot of movies. Let's.
Oh, okay.
We got other movies we got to talk about. We can't go. We said we aren't going to do the whole plots.
No, I'm not going through the plot. I'm talking about the dynamic, like what made this so much better than, say, Top Dog or Turner and Hooch for me, is that, like, just the dynamic of Jim Belushi's a fucking dick, and he goes around and just confidently walks into a room and is like, hey, I'm busting you guys for drugs. Yeah, you're going to hand him over whether you like it or not.
Even before he had a dog, he had a big mouth.
Yeah. And then, like, everyone's just literally, like, laughing at him. Like, yeah, man, what are you gonna do? And then all of a sudden, like, Jerry Lee just goes apeshit and single-handedly takes down, like, a room full of bad guys.
The main guy he was interrogating, Jerry Lee knows who it is.
Yeah.
And he grabs him by the balls. Mm-hmm. And then he's like, call off your dog. He's like, oh, no, man. Why don't you talk first? And he's like, oh, no. And then Jerry Lee starts biting harder, like without cue. It appears that they are. He is, that they really are like a dynamic, and that's the beginning of their dynamic. At one point, after that, like they start building up their bond, because the first bust was an embarrassment, but then like they got that going. Jerry Lee is introduced to the girlfriend. Girlfriend loves Jerry Lee, and then. Fucking what else happens? He's working on the job and Jerry Lee sees his poodle and he's like, he can tell he likes the poodle and he's like, all right, buddy, okay, so she's hot, right? You got 10 minutes. And he wingmans his fucking like dog to get fucking laid.
Yeah,
that was weird.
There's a lot of weird like dog sex stuff in this movie that I was like, that's unnecessary. Like, this is a good movie. We could maybe, like... It's mostly just because of how fucking cheesy it was.
That was a little bit cheesy, because a lot of the movie wasn't cheesy. There was a lot of good, like, just cop action. And, like, Jerry Lee doesn't die. He gets shot, but he lives through this one.
Yeah.
He gets saved at a human hospital. What the fuck else happened? The best scene was... There was bad guys in the building... And then the cops wouldn't go in. they wouldn't raid. They just had a standoff, and they wouldn't listen to Jim Belushi. So then Jim Belushi goes over to the budget rent-a-car. Oh, he takes someone's wallet. Didn't he take someone's wallet? Took someone's credit card.
God.
Whose credit card did he take? Was it the Chief's?
Something like that.
So one of the other cops, he like grabs wipes their credit card, goes over across the street to the budget rent-a-car, and says, "Hey man, I need a car." And he's like, and the budget guy's like watching the standoff. He's too occupied with the standoff, right? He's just fucking rubbernecking. He's like, "Sorry man, we're closed." He's like, I want this one. He's like, all right, it'll be $80. It says $20 in the window. And he's like, it's $80 now. He's like, all right, that's fine. Put on the gold card too. The guy's like, oh, gold card. Mm-hmm. Okay.
He's like, oh yeah, give me fucking insurance.
Yeah, he's asking for everything. The guy's like, yeah, sure, okay. The guy gets excited, and then he's like, I want insurance too. And then that's when the guy really perks up. He's like, oh my god, I'm gonna make money. And then he's like so excited. He's like offering like a map. He's offering all these other like amenities for people that did all the bonus features, and he just drives this fucking convertible right into the side of the wall of the house that the other cops are having a standoff in. Mm-hmm. Pulls a gun out. They'll get them to stick their arms up. They get arrested, and then the budget guy's like, "Oh fuck!" And I love it because the fact that he's like the punchline is like, "Yeah, I need insurance."
Yeah,
it's like that's the best setup because it's like, no one's having to pay for this except the budget guys.
Yeah,
great.
I laughed. I legitimately laughed really hard at a lot of this movie. Like the writing is so like clever. It's so quippy and fast, and it's just like
it's great too. It's shot like a movie. Yeah, it's shot like a proper movie.
It looks much more like high budget than Turner and Hooch. I don't know exactly what those numbers are, but
Turner and Hooch, a lot of people think of it as a kids film, but it's about drugs and stuff.
Yeah,
so it's not quite a kids film. The same thing with this movie. It is not quite a kid's film.
No, I would say that Canine is a little more like...
Canine's more mature than Turner and Hooch.
Yeah. Turner and Hooch is like, if you're a kid, and I know that when I was a kid and there's like a dog in a movie, I'm not really listening to what the boring shit the adults are talking about, Because like you don't really even see a lot of like drugs or guns or anything so much in Turner and Hooch. So I feel like if you were to watch it with a kid, a lot of that might just go over their head.
100%.
But like K9 literally opens up with like people having sex in cars. Mm-hmm. And it's just a very prominent theme.
So that's K9.
Yeah.
It's good movie, right? So
I liked it a lot.
I like it more than Turner and Hooch.
Yes. Yeah.
Now let's bring up K9PI.
So we did skip K911, which is the film that came in between these two because we don't have it. But
K9PI was 2002.
Yeah, so it was one of those movies that like just kind of came out. It's like Kingdom Hearts 2 or Kingdom Hearts 3 in like the K9 world where it just took fucking forever.
I mean, I don't feel like it really took that long if you think, because like if it's a like 11-year difference.
Yeah, 11 to 13, somewhere in there.
Was 1989 to like 2002.
Yeah.
So like it's like a 13-year gap. Like if the second one came out like, I don't know, let's say 7 years later. That's fine. The amount of gap between them, would you rather have that or Fast and the Furious?
Oh my god.
But
it's just weird to think about like that reboots and like bringing shit back has always been a thing, but it's like it happens so much now.
Well, now we're just doing constant reboots, so you don't even know if it's a sequel you're watching. Then they got the soft reboot, like Jurassic World. It's like, yeah, it's a sequel, but it's also a reboot.
Yeah.
And it's like, whoa.
Fucking Ghostbusters and shit. It's just like...
fucking Ghostbusters was not really... Ghostbusters was a reboot that was sold as a fucking sequel, which is why it pissed off so many people. One of the many reasons, besides it's a fucking shit film.
Watch out, Henry.
Misogynistic about not liking this movie.
People... People who defend Ghostbusters 2016 don't care what you are.
People who defend Ghostbusters 2016, I am firmly convinced are COVID-19 carriers because they have no taste.
I don't know, man.
At this point, I don't know who. At this point, the only people I've met that still defend it have never seen the original.
Yeah, I don't like Ghostbusters 2016. I don't like it.
You go fuck itself.
I don't like it.
Paul Feig is a fucking hack fraud.
Yeah, it's okay, guys. Like, you can admit that a movie is bad. It doesn't reflect on your political beliefs. Like,
speaking of bad movies, fucking Canine PI.
Yeah, we made it 20 minutes in before you forced me to sit for another 10.
That way we could make it at least a third of the way through.
Yeah. And then I was like, nah, I've seen all I need to see. Like, I'm done. This isn't going to get any better.
Right.
I see the writing on the wall. I know what's going to happen.
Mm-hmm. It was not very good.
No.
It's about because it was so far gone, like 13 years later, it's about their retirement. And you noticed it was a different dog right away.
Yes. So, as we mentioned earlier, the legend, the dog, the myth, the legend, Jerry Lee, unfortunately lost his life in 1991. So they had a different dog playing Jerry Lee, a dog that goes by something that starts with a K. I want to say it was like King or something like that. He's also a German Shepherd, but he's not as good of an actor as Jerry Lee was. Like, Jerry Lee was so expressive, and of course they do, like, anytime you have a dog in a movie, they always like implement all of these dog noises into the audio, and like dogs don't make that many noises, but they just kind of throw them in there so like you remember the dog is there. They do it with babies too in movies. Like, when there's like a baby, they always just like superimpose these like baby noises when it's like babies aren't constantly making noise.
Yeah, they're quiet all the time.
Yeah, so it's just kind of like a thing that they do.
I feel like
but he was still very expressive.
Yeah, he was very expressive. I just couldn't get into that movie, so we stopped it. Canine PI sucks.
Yeah, it's just boring. It's really fucking boring. The thing about Canine that was so great was that like Jim Belushi, his style of comedy is just very quick and very like he just keeps going. Mm-hmm. And when you pair that with like a straight man, like, fucking dog, like it's just very funny. The writing was very fast and funny, but like Canine PI, he's like, he's gained quite a bit of weight. He's aged like another decade. He's, not in his prime, and that's fine. I mean, with the storyline, it makes sense, but the writing isn't there, and so it's just kind of like another Turner and Hooch situation where it's just like, oh, it's just a guy and a dog.
It's a top dog. That's all it is.
Yeah, there's nothing really like keeping you there.
Not at all.
Yeah.
And then, so that brings us to our final movie, Top Dog.
Oh my god.
So Top Dog is starring Chuck Norris.
Written, produced, and directed by his brother. Is Alan Norris or Alex Norris or something?
With an A.
Yeah.
So, this movie was the beginning of the end of Chuck Norris's, like, theatrical career.
Yeah, this was the last movie Chuck Norris starred in to be released in theaters.
Right.
Everything he did past that point was direct-to-video.
Or TV.
Yeah. I believe Top Dog should have been direct-to-video.
It very much feels like a direct-to-video movie. Top Dog, it's better than Canine PI.
Yeah, we could at least get through Top Dog. There are some scenes that are so ridiculous that you're just kind of like, I'm sorry, what?
Chuck Norris is a terrible fucking actor in that movie.
He's very bad.
Fucking, and like, that's not a dig at Chuck Norris because I've seen you do decent stuff. It's just the way he was delivering his lines, it's something else.
Very robotic and stale. Like, you know, he's reading lines. You don't feel like he's a genuine
How
character.
does he get the dog again in this one?
I think he gets paired up because, like, they're both, like, disobedient and getting suspended and...
Like, it's an assigned cop dog, right?
Yeah.
And then, like, this cop dog is a bit like Turner and Hooch, and, like, it eats his chicken for dinner, and he lives in, like, it's not a rundown house, but it's just, like, there's no real furniture and
It's
stuff.
a bachelor pad. Like, it's just pizza boxes and beer bottles everywhere.
I hate the phrase bachelor pad so much.
Okay. Well, that's what it is,
I mean,
though.
I know, I'm not knocking you. I'm just saying, like, you know, like, people refer to my place as a bachelor pad, and, like...
Well, I think it's kind of like you have bachelor pad being used in, like, a serious way where it's like, oh... You are a single guy and you live in your place that has all of your things that you like. But, like, that doesn't necessarily mean that it has to be, like, messy. But at the same time, like, bachelor pad, you can also, like, refer to a man's residence that way because it is so often that, like, a single man will live in absolute filth.
It's just completely, like, that's what I'm saying. Like, it's the same phrase to describe the same type of person, a man that lives alone. But it can be like, yeah, he's got such a bachelor pad, and it's, like, got someone that has, like, a fucking penthouse suite, right?
Yeah.
And then it can also be like, that guy's house is just definitely a bachelor pad. It's like, oh, yeah, because he's got, like, just beer bottles all over the place, and, like...
Have you ever seen that meme that's, like, guys live like this and think it's okay or whatever?
And it's, like, just a TV.
With, like, a folding chair and, like, an N64.
Yeah.
Canine, or...
Top Dog.
We're not even talking about that anymore.
Top Dog.
Top Dog is just... not... It's kind of boring.
It's about neo-Nazis, too.
Yeah, what the fuck?
I forgot the Top Dog opens up with about neo-Nazis, and, like, it ends with, like, them trying to end the festival to end racism or something like that.
Yeah, they're like, the white nationalists have been using C4 to, like, make explosions at, you know, fucking, like, synagogues and all this other shit that white nationalists would attack. And so they're trying to catch them and figure out, like, where they're gonna bomb next. And I guess, like, their final target in the movie is, like, there's this festival that's gonna happen in the park that's like end or like racial unity or something like that.
It's like the festival for racial unity.
Yeah.
Like, and so, like, that's it. That's what they're gonna be attacking. And it's like, yeah, neo-Nazis in my Chuck Norris Kids Dog Cop movie.
Yeah.
Now you would think that, oh, well, maybe it's not a kids movie, but it very much is. We got, like, wacky sound effects.
Oh yeah.
There's a shootout where the bad guys are dressed like clowns, and it's not like in The Dark Knight where they're just dressed as clowns for, like, a disguise. They're like
The Purge.
Like, not even saying that, like, not even how they look. It's what everything else is going. They're, like, literally doing front flips, like it's a literal circus act. It's
Yeah, it's got, like, fucking clown circus music in the background.
Circus music playing, and they're, like, doing front flips and shit while shooting Uzis. So yeah, it's a children's movie. There's, like, other stuff where people get hit and you hear, like, bonk and, like, all this very just overt slapstick stuff, which makes it a children's film about the, you know, Aryan Brotherhood bombing the
Yeah, this movie was kind of tone deaf. It kind of didn't really know what it was doing.
The dog doesn't die at the end.
No. I have to say, least favorite dog.
No, man, I really don't like Hooch.
I don't like Hooch, but at least, like, Hooch is recognizable. this fucking dog that was in Top Dog, I don't even remember his name.
Benji or something. I don't remember the dog's name.
Like Tim Allen Shaggy dog.
Yeah.
Kind of dog.
It was like that kind of dog. No, see, I disagree. I feel like this dog, I remember his actions more than Hooch. I remember Hooch going, man, I fucking hate this dog.
The dog was useless.
I hated that dog. This dog was like still a cop dog. It did cop dog things. And it also it did some wacky things too.
It did some kind of like Home Alone style stuff.
Oh yeah, it was attacking some of the white nationalists by like throwing knocking over like oxygen tanks off a roof and it like collapses onto them and stuff like that.
Yeah, very cartoonish.
With very like bonk sounds. And so there's that. It ends with him grabbing the sash off of the Pope at the Racial Unity Festival. Yeah,
the fucking Pope just shows up to this Racial Unity Festival in like San Francisco or whatever.
Yeah, all these take place in San Francisco.
That's so
San Diego.
True. Yeah.
Yeah, because K9, Turner and Hooch took place in San Francisco. Mm-hmm. Or someplace in the Bay Area. Because I remember at one point he mentions like taking a job in Sacramento, which is more north.
Yeah.
And then K9 is in San Diego. I'm assuming K9 PI is also in San Diego. It's the same police department, right? And then this was in California also.
Yeah.
It's crazy. Why?
I don't know.
Why? It makes no sense.
But yeah, I mean, the movie, very forgettable, very boring, very bad acting.
And yet it's still better than K9 PI.
Yeah. Yeah, I think Canine PI was such a disappointment because like K9 was so good.
Yeah, we both liked K9, so all right. So that's the 4 movies now. Like I said, Turner and Hooch is not in the running.
Yeah, it's more of just like we've accepted.
That's the baseline.
Standard. Is it my favorite? No, but I think that like the general pop culture zeitgeist, for whatever reason, seems to prefer it.
You know why I think it is?
Why?
Just a name. Well, the movie K9, it's like human SEO.
Like what's naturally more grabbing to us?
It's like, it's identifiable. Turner and Hooch. There's only one thing named Turner and Hooch. You say, oh, you've seen K9? What's K9? Like the dog? Like it's, it's...
Yeah.
In 1989, it was great to explain this movie, K9. And it's like, oh, it's about a dog. But then like, in like conversation, bringing up K9 just brings up like, you just think about dogs. You don't think about this dog. You say Turner and Hooch, you're like, oh, Tom Hanks, that mutt.
Yeah. And I feel like the advertising, like just that picture on the cover of like Hooch looking up at Tom Hanks and being like, ruh-roh, I'm the bad dog.
It's a bit iconic.
And it kind of like tells you what the movie is going to be like. It like sets the tone. I don't feel like K9, like the cover or the advertising, I get the cover for K9 PI mixed up because it's just dog and Jim Belushi. Yeah.
It's just posed differently. But you had mentioned earlier, like your suspension of disbelief, right? Mm-hmm. And like how we talk about this, there's a big rise in like animal movies in general. And then like there was like specifically like dog movies. And you asked me last night, why was there no cat movies? Because you said that dog movies are like the precursor to cat videos on the internet.
Yeah, I think so. I think that like, back in the pre-internet age, like people like looking at animals.
People do.
But like we had dog movies, and now like with the internet, we have cat videos that like cats seem to dominate the internet, but dogs seem to dominate like the movie
pop culture.
Sphere. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And so we were kind of discussing, well, why do we think that is?
And I got a few solid concepts about why, right? Like, if you were to observe the general populace just out in public, you can get a gauge of how many people have a dog, because people take their dogs everywhere. People take their dog to the park. They take their dog to the store. They take their dog fucking everywhere. Take them hiking, all this other shit. People take their fucking dog places.
Yes.
Right? They take their dog to the pet store all the time. That's a normal fucking thing to take your dog to the pet store. Could let them try all those treats and all this other shit, right? Cat people don't. Our cats tend to stay at home. So if you were to go to the park and there's 3 people out of the 10 there with a dog, you know at least 30% of those people at the park have a dog. It could be more, but it's definitely not less because you have a confirmation. You have a hard line, statistical number to look at. You have 0 idea how many people have a cat. You have 0 data to go off of. So the public perception is that dogs are more popular than cats. However, like I told you last night, I just did a fucking, quantitative study on this. There are more cat owners than dog owners.
Yes.
Cats are the more popular pet out of everybody. But we don't know that because, if your work has like a work barbecue, that's a normal thing people do, right?
Yeah.
Dog people are going to bring their dog.
Yes.
That's what they do, especially if you have it at the public park and stuff. Oh, I'll bring my dog. People love meeting my dog. No one's going to bring their fucking cat. It doesn't happen. So which of my coworkers have dogs? Oh, like a bunch of my fucking coworkers have dogs. You have 0 idea how many people have cats.
Yeah, and that's the thing is that we bring dogs outside. Dogs are everywhere outside. But with the internet, we've been able to bring
our
inside into other people's homes. And so now we're seeing cats everywhere.
Yeah.
And we also discussed how cats, we like watching cats because
for a different reason we like watching dogs.
Yeah. So cats act like cats.
Dogs, we like watching dogs when they sit like a human. We like it when the dog sits upright in the car seat. We like when a dog barks and goes, "Roo, roo, roo," and we think it sounds like he says, "I love you." We like it when a dog comes, it sits, it speaks, plays dead. We like it when a dog can act human. That's what we like to see. With a cat, we like it when a cat acts like a fucking idiot. We like it when the cat runs up the fucking wall and gets stuck on the fucking curtains. We like when the cat chases the laser. We like it when the cat fucking does a line of catnip and spazzes out. I guess that is a little bit human, but we like it when, we like it when cats do cat things. And so because of that, there's no cat movies because dogs' activities that we like to see for entertainment match how we would write a human story, and so it can progress a human story. A cat can't do that without you having to adjust your suspension of disbelief, because we have movies like Cats and Dogs, and anything else involving cat tends to just be animated, because what a cat does all day is like what my fucking cat's doing right now, right in front of us, just laying in the fucking tree.
Yeah.
It's just, a cat's either just doing nothing or doing weird cat shit, and that's not conducive to write a plot that revolves around human interactions. So there's that. And remember, you mentioned the suspension of disbelief, and I think that goes into the next thing I want to bring up is the de-evolution of the dog genre over the years.
Yes. Yeah. So the concept of a dog movie in general, whether we're talking about a cop dog movie, a boy and his dog movie, a magical dog movie, whatever, there have been ebbs and flows and kind of changes in theme. And it's pretty obvious that we went from these dog movies in the 80s and the early 90s and stuff having kind of a more serious tone. We're seeing dogs get shot. We're dealing with topics like sex and drugs and crime. But now the dog movies that we have are almost exclusively for children and very young children, not even tweens, little kids.
We have seen over the course of time, the dog movie genre has gone from, this is a how do we make another buddy cop action movie? Oh, replace the sidekick with the dog.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay. And then we saw with Canine PI, it becomes goofier. It became more slapstick as the series went on. And it just wasn't as serious, just the overall tone of everything. And it's because they came out with the cop dog genre to pump more life into the adult genre of the buddy cop movie, right?
Right.
And then it turns out like we can only do that so many times before adults stop giving a shit because it's another cop dog buddy movie.
Right.
Like we've seen this before. Mm-hmm. The only difference is the cop dog gonna die at the end? That's the variable here. It's that's it. Versus like kids don't give a shit. All that cop drama goes over their heads. They just see dog doing cop things and they love it. They eat it up. They lap that shit up.
Yeah, like dogs are new to them. So they're just like, I just want to watch the dog. I don't care what it does. I just want to watch it. So the
dogs got to start doing more slapsticky stuff, just doing wackier things. And the cop drama becomes, secondary because the kid doesn't give a shit and the adult no longer gives a shit about the entire genre.
Yeah. Like, I think the most like common kind of, when I think of like the quintessential dog movie now, I think of like the Air Buddies movies.
Yes.
I mean, they made a fuck ton of those.
We'll get into that next week.
Yes.
Air Buddies, because we're bringing up Sports Dogs next week, which was jump started by Air Bud. I did not mean for that to be like a just like they just remember the cover of the fucking dog just like jumping. But
yeah, we have
and I feel like even Air Bud was like originally more, I guess, we'll bring that part up just right now. Like even like with the sports dog genre, it started out like still fairly young, but it got younger.
Yeah, I think that the sports dog, like Air Bud craze was kind of like an in-between step.
It was.
Because I feel like anyone can watch a movie like Air Bud and at least get something out of it. I would consider it absolutely like a family film.
Yes.
No matter what age you are, you're going to be like, wow, check out that dog. He's playing basketball. That's amazing. And I mean, especially like, we're going to get into Air Bud, like the actual dog, and talk about how fucking amazing he is.
Yeah, Buddy was amazing.
Yeah. But that's such a great story.
Yeah.
We have to save it. But I mean, watching Air Bud is like you get something out of it no matter what age you are. And it's mostly targeted towards, I want to say, like, tweens.
Yeah, I would say it was a tween movie.
Yeah, like I think like Disney Channel original movie type audience,
yeah,
like tweens,
between
older
like
kids,
10 to like 10 to 13.
Yeah, absolutely. Whereas, these cop movies from the 80s and the 90s were much more adult or like PG-13, I would say. And
then like I feel like Top Dog doesn't know where it wants to be.
Yeah. Because
you're bringing like, white nationalists as like your antagonist, and it's like that's a more mature subject, but like everything else is very like slapsticky and like very, very elementary. And it's not even the same as like the fact that like Indiana Jones has Nazis as the bad guys, because one, it's a World War II-esque era. That's when it takes place, right? During World War II. It takes place like, actually, they're not neo-Nazis in Indiana Jones. They're like Nazis.
Yes.
So there's that, but also the fact that like, yeah, they're doing like, they're Nazis, but they're not like doing Nazi stuff
it's a very like Spielbergified.
It's like, these are bad guys, and we know that the bad guys. We don't have to show them attacking a festival for racial unity.
Yeah. Like, we just know that.
It's like you know what they do. You know why they're there. And the bad guy stuff they're doing is other stuff, like attacking Indy and stealing stuff and, all that sort of thing. Versus like this, it's like, yeah, they're white nationalists and they're doing white nationalist stuff.
You know what I just remembered? Fucking Top Dog has the Brink kid
in
it. Like, I feel like every 90s movie that was, like, made for teen boys or tween boys had to have, like...
Jonathan Taylor Thomas clone.
Yeah.
Everyone had that haircut.
Mm-hmm. And I was like, God, that kid looks familiar. Who is that? Turns out it's fucking Brink. So, speaking of Disney Channel original movies and whatever, I feel like Top Dog definitely, like... I feel like that kid, to me, is exactly who... the staff behind that movie were like, this is our audience.
Yeah. It's like we need someone for them to self-identify with.
Exactly. So it's like, it's obvious what their intentions were.
He's also Sid in Toy Story. We found that out.
Yeah, it's so weird. He's the voice of Sid. I had no idea. He's done a lot of voice work and like acting. Like he's mostly like a fucking extra and stuff.
You need a cool guy that's stuck in the 90s.
Yeah. But he does a lot of like stuff with Disney.
It makes sense.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
But yeah, that movie was very tonally confused.
Yeah. But it's still very much like you forget that they're fucking neo-Nazis.
Yeah. They really don't come up very much.
They don't. It's like, oh, this is the case, and they're doing all these other things, following these clues, and then we get to the final one and the showdown and stuff. So, out of the 3 movies that we watched.
Excluding Turner
and Hooch.
The best, Canine. Mm-hmm. Hands, paws down.
Oh, God.
Canine was the best. And I
legitimately enjoyed that, and I don't understand why it's considered a worse movie than Turner and Hooch.
Yeah, I think Canine is great. I actually want to like watch it again. I do.
I would watch it again.
I really like. It's almost like got fucking, like very classic, like 80s comedy level writing, in my opinion. Like, I think it's really good. Some of it is cheesy as fuck, but like, if you put that aside, there's a lot of like really funny content in there. Whereas I would say the worst, Canine PI. And perhaps that's because Canine was so good that our expectations are just like, I've seen what you can do, and you're so far from that level that I'm disappointed.
Yeah.
Because who knows, if we didn't have K9 at all, and we were just going off of like K9 PI, like, I don't know, would I be able to find something in it? I'm not sure. Probably not. It's just really fucking boring. Top Dog is like really boring, but there's some parts that are so bad that you're just like, wow, they really did that. They really thought this was like a good choice.
Yeah, there was something about Top Dog that kept us.
Yeah.
I don't know what it is. It wasn't something good.
No.
But there's something that kept us.
Yeah, it's got this kind of like, I don't want to say so bad it's good, but it's like bad in a way that at least keeps your attention. Whereas Canine PI is the kind of bad where like it's exhausting to like try and force yourself to sit through it. Like, it's so boring.
Right.
And that's just how like bad movies are. It's like, is it bad because it's boring, or is it bad because it's just like, what the fuck, did they really do that? I feel like Canine PI is just the kind of boring that's like, it's just so bad that it's boring.
Yeah, no, I agree. I 100% agree.
I am curious about K911. Like, I mean, maybe it's got a more similar energy than the first one because it came out like closer to it. So I would like to hope. I'll probably end up watching it sometime in this month. Mm-hmm. But yeah. You agree?
No, I agree 100%.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And even adding Turner and Hooch to the list, like if we had to, in my personal opinion.
Canine.
Yeah, I didn't like Turner and Hooch. I thought it was totally just whatever.
Tom Hanks was great. That dog sucked.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. Like, so, foreclosure, Alice and I are both very much cat people.
Yeah.
I've had many dogs. I've had dogs in the past. And I would have hated a dog like Hooch.
If I had a dog like Hooch, no. Absolutely not. No way.
Especially if I didn't raise him. It's like I'm being forced to keep this thing in my house. It's just so annoying. There's the burden of it as well. It's like, God damn it.
Yeah. The whole point that they're trying to make in Turner and Hooch is oh, well, Turner and Hooch have all these similarities. And Turner has to realize that over time. And that's how he learns to love him and blah, blah, blah. But then that just doesn't even go anywhere because Hooch dies anyway. So it's just
you get it. Hooch's
why do I even give a shit?
Yeah, no, it's
gives me fucking Jane Doe vibes. But it's yeah, you two had a relationship and I'm sure it was great for you. But me on the outside watching it, I'm this is a train wreck. I don't like this. Why do you like this? You know? Fucking Jane Doe. That's how I felt.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. Jane Doe that movie annoyed me.
Yeah, to say the least.
That's probably one of the worst movies I've ever fucking seen.
Yeah.
I've seen a lot of bad movies.
We always have to come back to it and just vent. It's almost like our podcast has become a therapy session for trying to deal with Jane Doe and the trauma that it brought us.
Fucking I don't know what it is about that movie that made me just go, wow, what the fuck? Because
never have we had to re-record an episode 3 fucking times.
And I've seen a lot of bad movies. And I feel what makes it so bad is because it's so pretentious.
Yeah.
And it comes up so short.
Yeah.
Whereas if it's just a bad movie, yeah, man, it's a bad movie. But it's this guy thought he was making
fucking the Mona Lisa.
Right. He thought that he was making the next Citizen Kane.
Yeah.
And he didn't. And I feel that's the biggest difference versus a lot of bad movies. You read behind the scenes and stuff's yeah, man, we could tell it was gonna be a train wreck. We had our fingers crossed for at least half decent. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? So yeah. It's when you, a lot of times the creators are no, they're we had a terrible budget. We had to do this. They knew when they were doing it that they did the best they could, but they knew it was not gonna be this amazing. There's hope that maybe it would be, Terminator. No one thought Terminator was gonna be a great, huge success, but they were all pleasantly surprised. They all put their heart into it. They put their whole into it, and they're I hope it catches, and it did. Mm-hmm. Versus Jane Doe, he's it's gonna catch. Yeah, he was so confident. It was it's Dunning-Kruger, that's Dunning-Kruger effect to the fullest extent, and wasn't until he crashed and burned they realized that he's a fucking shit can fucking director.
Yeah. Whereas, I don't know, none of these movies that we watched this week were
that bad,
pretentious, or thinking that they were too good. I think that when you're creating a movie about a dog, you're just kind of it has to be a little silly, right? You can't be too serious. I feel Turner and Hooch definitely tried to take itself the most seriously.
I mean, there are still serious dog movies that come out, but they all tend to be based on real life, Hachi.
Yeah.
Hachi made me cry.
Yeah.
I don't know if you noticed, I did tear up at the end of K9.
Aww.
I was really sad because that was a good dog.
Yeah.
And then when in the end when he's spilling his guts out to his dog and I was God damn, that sucks. And then the fact that the dog like opened his eyes and was like playing coy, like playing, that it was fucking good dog acting.
Dude, Jerry Lee was not only an incredible cop, but he was an incredible actor.
God.
And like, rest in peace, you absolute legend.
Right? That is a great dog.
Yeah, this episode is dedicated to Jerry Lee.
Oh, dude, we should really do that. We really should do that.
We love you, Jerry Lee.
We love you, Jerry Lee.
Hope you're chomping on that T-bone in the sky. You're amazing. Thank you for such an incredible performance in this movie. I enjoyed every second of it.
No offense to Jim Belushi, but like, I gotta say, the Jerry Lee was a better actor. Like,
Jim Belushi was just being himself. I felt like I was watching like a Jim Belushi stand-up routine with a dog, but I kind of was like perfectly okay with it.
I could tell that Jim Belushi was hanging out with Bill Murray a lot.
Yeah.
He was sounding like Bill Murray. Like, had a lot of the same like mannerisms as Bill Murray. He had like the same kind of pitch as Bill Murray, especially like him in like Ghostbusters and other things he was in the 80s. So, and I know they're friends. Right. So like, that's not a knock. I could just tell that like before they went and filmed, they had been hanging out with Bill. It just shows, kind of like me and you both. Sometimes when we get on this podcast, we develop this like East Coast fucking accent for some fucking reason.
That's Executive Man. We're just channeling.
Sometimes it's from Executive Man, but sometimes it just comes out in normal speech too.
Yeah, that's true.
But yeah, this episode is now dedicated to Jerry Lee.
Yeah. We love you, Jerry Lee. Thank you for all that entertainment you gave us. I will definitely watch Canine again. Anytime we're hanging out and you're just like, hey, let's watch Canine, I'm going to be like, fuck yeah, let's do it. I really liked that movie a lot.
I don't know if I would watch it again. I would watch clips on YouTube again. Like, there's some good scenes.
Okay. No, I thought the writing was great. I really enjoyed the comedy in that one. Some of it was cheesy, but overall, I mean, shit, I'm a fan.
Well, recapping, Canine takes the win this week.
Yes, and our loser
is Canine PI.
Yeah.
So those are going on the bracket. I'll upload brackets onto Instagram, Facebook, Twitter.
Yep.
All the places you can check us out.
All our social media.
I think that does just about wrap it up for this episode.
Yes. We just said, be sure to follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Subscribe on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever you listen to podcasts. Check out our website, VHSaturday.com. Sign up for our mailing list. Get updates for our next episode in the Dawgust saga.
We still have our stickers available. They are holographic and 12 inches wide. If you would like one, go ahead and send us a message on any of our social media sites. They are $5 each.
Thank you so much for listening. And thank you for your patience with our hiatus.
We are glad to be back.
Yes, we hope the wait was worth it. We will see you next week when we discuss sports dog movies.
During week 2 of Dawgust.
Hell yes.
Thanks again for listening, guys. We'll see you in a week.
Until then, remember,
be kind, rewind.